Hello everybody and welcome to the Ozzimon Library. Of course, I am the librarian and welcome. Today we're diving back into our spooky month. There are 4 Mondays within October and I upload every Monday, which means you guys are going to get 4 very spooky videos revolving around spooky festivities. The first video has already been uploaded last week, so make sure you go check that out after you checked out this video. So, of course, one of the biggest names in horror, in scary, spooky fashion, is Dracula, the vampire himself. So, what if Dracula became a Power Ranger? It's actually a very intriguing thought, and I think I came up with a very interesting idea. So, in this universe, Dracula was once an apprentice to the same person who taught Udana everything she knows. Now, of course, I don't know who that is, but I'm going with it. Dracula is, immortal, so this also works. Now, Dracula was banished several years ago, and when he returns, he knows for a fact there'll be people to stop him. And there are. Power Rangers Mystic Force, the magic users of the Power Rangers teams, try and stop Dracula. Dracula knew he needed a power-up, so he does several things. He drains the blood of 2 specific people. First one is Connor, the Red Dino Thunder Ranger, and Master Swoop, the guy who taught Theo how to use the Spirit of the Bat and the fan technique. That being said, once he had the blood of these 2 very specific people, he managed to craft himself a very powerful morpher. This morpher is a wrist device, and it looks like a one-eyed bat with its eyes closed and its wings down. But once he presses the blue crystal in the center, the wings will pop open and the eye opens. When the eye opens, he is morphed. So here's the morpher. As you can see, I kept with all of it being red, different shades of red. I wanted to really show off the redness, the blood power within this morpher. The reason why it's a blue crystal is because it represents the time of day. Light, sun, the thing that Dracula cannot touch, the thing Dracula cannot see. And it reminds him of that. It's a painful reminder Dracula put in the morpher because he wants not to be normal, but he doesn't want that restriction. It's almost like a goal of his, possibly. Now, there's a reason why the bat looks like it does. Because I took slight inspiration from Kamen Rider Kiva's henshin device. He has a living bat. And also Dracula can turn into bats. Hence why the morpher looks like the way it does. The eye, kind of inspiration from the Sauron eye. Just saying. But yeah, that is his morpher. I really like the way this turned out. Now, of course, when he does morph, Dracula becomes a Power Ranger. Honestly, I haven't come up with a solid name for his Ranger form, so I just went with, well, the Vampire King Ranger, because he is like the first vampire. So here is the very first vampire. As you can see, he has a cape. I know superheroes don't have capes, but Dracula is a bad guy, technically. This would be an evil ranger. But Power Rangers Mystic Force do have capes. Now, as I mentioned, he got the blood from Connor and Swoop. Now, Swoop makes sense. Spirit of the Bat. But why did I go with Connor? It's because he needed speed. Dracula is known to be strong, fast, super senses, all that sort of stuff. So he needed something to up his speed. So if you look at his Ranger form, there is some detailing to the fact that he took Connor's blood, but also there's a bat theme within the faceplate, and also the morpher, Master Swoop. Now, if you do look at the visor, the top 2 fangs are more white than the bottom 2 fangs, representing the eyes in the night, the eyes that are in the darkness that jump out at you. His gauntlets are rigid at the top and come out as spikes, and of course his fingers are clawed and there's blood dripping from them. As you can see, there's this red mist that wraps around his bottom half. That is because it is blood energy seeping out of him. It's the blood of his enemies he collects in this form, and it almost acts as not only a device as a defense mechanism, but it also acts as a daunting factor of fear. It puts fear into people that he's got this veil of blood wrapped around him. I actually really like this design. If you can see, there's the Mystic Force belt buckle on his belt. His actual Ranger suit, I didn't add too much detailing to him, but there's a reason to that. There's a lot of variations to Dracula. And, of course, I could go with Bram's version, but there's so many more. So I decided to keep it just the blood colour. And I know not all blood's that dark, but I needed the shading difference. So I went with just red. Blood is the one thing all versions of Dracula is obsessed with, but also what vampires, the whole thing to do with vampires. So I went with that. Now, of course, every ranger needs a weapon. So, you have a vampire, the very first vampire. What do you give the vampire as a weapon? Well, for those who don't know, the very first Dracula story was based on Vlad the Impaler, a historical figure who, let's just say, impaled a lot of people. I actually really enjoyed learning about Vlad the Impaler when I was a kid. I had to do a history project on him, and I was very, very interested. I'm not morbid, I promise. So, I decided to come up with a very unique weapon. A spear. For several reasons. First off, actual spears aren't relatively used in Power Rangers. If something has a spear, it doesn't always look like a spear. Second of all, it kind of goes with Connor's weapon. Thirdly, Vlad the Impaler used spears, sticks, all sorts of sharp objects. So that worked. Now, the design of the spear I made very tribal, very basic. You wouldn't even say it's a Power Ranger weapon. And again, that is for several reasons. First off, I wanted it to seem like it's based off Vlad the Impaler. Second of all, villain rangers don't really have big, major weapons unless they turn good. But thirdly, villains in Power Rangers themselves don't have major, detailed weapons. They're very daunting, and yes, they can be cool, but designs and features there aren't a lot. It gets its coolness factor from other aspects. So, there is a feather hanging off the spear. There is some ribbon hanging off the spear that is sewn together. This is a piece of the spandex, sorry, Dr. K, the spandex from each of the Rangers that Vlad the Impaler-inspired spear has slain via the Vampire King Ranger using it. If he slays a vampire, if he slays a ranger with this spear, he'll take some of the spandex and sew it on to this ribbon. Now, in the center of the spear is some blood, and when he locks in a vial of blood, he can activate some special abilities, like the blood wave, which is a crescent wave type move made out of blood energy. He can throw the spear up into the air, and it will form a blood mist cloud that rains upon miniature versions of itself, which I got inspiration from God of War Ragnarok when you have unlocked the spear weapon in that. The spear is very fast, very versatile, and of course can wield blood magic. So, there we have it. I turned Dracula into a Power Ranger. What do you guys think of his morpher? The fact that it looks like a closed winged bat. When he presses the center, it pops open and the eye opens. I decided to go with the wrist morpher because I couldn't really decide how the morpher would work. Unless it was something really weird and wacko, like, for example, the Dark Ranger from Dino Charge. Maybe in another time we do a Halloween-themed season, or maybe I can go back to this and decide and make different variations of blood morphers for Dracula. Maybe it doesn't even have to be a Halloween month. Maybe that's just something I could revisit later down the line. For his weapon, of course, he has a spear inspired by Vlad the Impaler, because that is the inspiration for Dracula himself. And then the ranger suit, of course, is red. Different shades of red popping out. We have inspirations with bats and the redness from Connor, because they are the two things that he draw blood from to gain the access of the morphing grid. He has some blood red mist circling around the bottom of his, half of him, because it's powerful, it's daunting, and of course he has a big black cape. I can see the cape moving by itself, not off of him. Think of like Spawn's cape, less than Doctor Strange. Think of Spawn. I think the cape could work and move. I think that'd be really cool. This ranger, of course, is very high in defense, speed, and strength, so he'd be a very, very formidable foe. Let me know what you guys think of Dracula as a Power Ranger. And of course, Spooky Month continues next Monday, and I am working on it as we speak. I'm very much happy with this. So guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Hit the like button, subscribe button, and notification bell if you guys haven't already. I've actually been gaining a lot of good and really positive attention to this specific channel when it comes to these videos in the last couple of weeks. Subscriber count is going up slowly. I'm getting really nice comments. So thank you everyone for, if you're subscribing, if you're commenting, if you're liking, thank you so much for everyone who's doing that. You do really mean so much to me, and I'm really appreciative of that as well. So let me know what you guys think of Dracula as a ranger, his weapon and his morpher. How would you guys have done it? If you could give him a Zord, what Zord would you give him? I didn't do a Zord this time around. That being said, I love you all, Roar of Passion, and I shall see you guys in the next one.
Sleep well now.